A few NFL quarterbacks got new deals, with some still waiting in the wings. A young NBA superstar is finding himself in some trouble, and the NFL Combine shook up the quarterback rankings. This is the Rival Fantasy Podcast. Let's talk about it.
You are now listening to the Rival Fantasy Sports Podcast. Let's go.
Thank you for watching the Rival Fantasy Podcast. I am your host, Neal Maligno. I appreciate you for joining me today. Let's get into the headlines for the week with number one. A few NFL quarterbacks have finally signed new contracts, one signing with the new team, a couple of re-signing with the current team they were on, and some still floating out there. The first one we're going to touch on is Derek Carr. He got released from the Raiders, lost his big contract. People were wondering, will Derek Carr get re-signed for a big contract like he had with the Raiders? Will he have to take less? How many teams are in the market for this guy? It turns out someone wanted Derek Carr really badly because he got a 4-year, $150 million contract with the New Orleans Saints. This team gives him an opportunity to, he has some weapons there on offense. They have a pretty good team. They're in a division that he could definitely, take and get to the playoffs. This way it makes Derek Carr look good. So I can kind of see where he was at with this in terms of the easiness of this, right? He goes from the AFC West, which was super difficult. If he would have decided to go with like the Jets, if they would have made him an offer, he goes into the tough, AFC East. In this case, he gets a much easier division. So it's good for Derek. He's with a coach who's familiar with him. The team overall, like I said, is a pretty good team, especially in that division. Overall, this is a great situation for Derek. He got paid. He did say, he kind of alluded when he left the Raiders that he didn't say it straight up, but like they were kind of, him and his brother were alluding to the fact that like the team not winning a lot of games, not winning in the playoffs, like it wasn't his fault necessarily. So this kind of like victim mentality, it felt like, with Derek Carr. So it'll be interesting to see if he could do that with the Saints. It'll be interesting to see how the Saints handle Taysom Hill. Are they still going to pull Carr in and out of the game in the red zone and different places, or will that not happen with Derek Carr? Was that part of their discussion? I'm really curious to see how that plays out. So the Carr situation, he got his money. The Saints got a quarterback. Good for everybody, right? And the Raiders, will see what they do with, going forward without Carr. Geno Smith, to me, new contract, Seahawks, 3 years, $105 million. This is the best feel-good signing of the week for me. I'm really happy for Geno Smith. Guy goes into the league, high expectations, doesn't really live up to them, kind of really gets the bust label at some point. He's moving around to different teams. You're thinking it's over for Geno, right? Like he's just going to be a backup quarterback going forward, or a guy who fills in when needed, but a starter, nice new contract, years on it. No one really seen that coming. He balled out this year with the Seahawks when they traded Wilson, and here he goes, $105 million, 3 years. He has all the weapons needed in that offense to succeed. The team, has been the same team for a while in terms of coaching and all this kind of stuff. So it's just a good situation for Geno. So I'm really happy for him. The last one who signed was Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones signed a 4-year, $160 million contract with the Giants. I seen the internet go crazy when this happened. A lot of people feel like the Giants overpaid. They think the Giants were not in, a good place to do this. They were kind of backed into the corner in terms of what do they do with Daniel Jones? What do they do with Barkley? But in this case, they give him a nice contract. Again, I'm kind of, I don't know if it's because everyone hates on Daniel Jones. I don't know if it's because I just root for the underdogs, but Daniel Jones improved a lot this year when you take into the account the running game that he made happen and how much it elevated him. If you were in fantasy, you definitely felt it there, but just in general, like he had no weapons on offense. So you don't have like in Derek Carr situation with Devontae Adams. You don't have in Geno Smith situation with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Daniel Jones doesn't have any of these kind of guys, right? Like they have Kenny Golladay, which they thought when they signed him would be that kind of guy. Didn't turn out that way. Kenny Golladay didn't turn out that way. So there's some options out here. I would love to see them either go get a Hopkins or Cortland Sutton is supposedly on the block. Certain guys like this, I would love for them to go do to get Daniel Jones a real opportunity to have a stud at wide receiver. I do like some of the wide receivers they have, but they're young guys. They were all getting injured left and right out there, and no one really got consistency with him. So I'm curious to see what they do at wide receiver for Daniel Jones, because I do think it's not fair to totally judge him without giving him one of these, really high level wide receivers to just be able to trust and just throw the ball to a bunch. And then you mix in the young guys and see how it plays out. But I'm rooting for Daniel Jones. I think the Giants had no choice but to give him this kind of contract. Because what else do? You go and sign a Jimmy Garoppolo or some other vet, or you draft a rookie. In their case, I just don't think it makes sense. So I like the move for them. I'm happy for Daniel Jones. I'm not a hater. I'm happy for all these guys. They got their money. I'm not the kind of complain and say, oh, they're not worth it. Like, it is what it is. A team thinks they're top 15, top 10, top 20, whatever it is, they think they deserve this money, then go for it. The other two quarterbacks who are still out there floating around, their situations are not as clear. Aaron Rodgers, who is now this is we actually have some progress here, guys. Aaron Rodgers said he didn't want this to take too long. He didn't want to drag people out. We'll see if he's honest about that. But apparently, the Packers have given the Jets the opportunity to meet with Aaron Rodgers, so they're open to it. I don't expect this to take a long time. So if Aaron Rodgers, goes to the Jets, this obviously changes a lot for the Packers, changes a lot for the Jets. The Jets are kind of backed into a wall right now, into a corner, right? Like, they didn't get Derek Carr. They don't have another quarterback that they feel really confident in, that inspires this team, that you would think they feel confident in and winning it all with, but they have everything else, right? Like, they have everything else the team needs. So they really need Aaron Rodgers at this point. So Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have to trade for him. You have to give up some stuff. You're going to have to pay him a lot of money. The Jets got a lot of things to do here. The Packers obviously would move on to Jordan Love, you would assume. But there's a lot going on here. This is a big situation. It's really going to change a lot of dynamics in the NFL. So I'm looking forward to it. If the Jets don't get Aaron Rodgers, Jets fans, you guys are going to just explode at this point, right? Like, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to tell Jets fans when you say, we didn't sign Derek Carr, we didn't sign Aaron Rodgers, we don't want to draft a quarterback because for what? We're going to go in with a rookie? I don't think so. This team needs a veteran quarterback. They needed a Derek Carr. They need an Aaron Rodgers. They need somebody in there who they believe in, who they can feel confident in, who can get the ball to their weapons. And Aaron Rodgers is kind of their last hope in my eyes in this situation. So good luck to the Jets. If it doesn't happen, man, Jets fans are going to be upset. Lamar Jackson, the last conversation here in terms of the NFL, the QB signings, that kind of stuff. So Lamar Jackson is in a situation where he got the non-exclusive tag, which means any team in the NFL can now try to sign Lamar Jackson. They can make offers. So if a team makes a contract offer, let's just say a team gives him everything he wants, because what he wants is he wants a fully guaranteed deal. Deshaun Watson got it. I want it. Deshaun Watson has had off the field issues, very big off the field issues, some that people will never let go of, right? So I'm not that guy. I'm super talented. I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I can do it with my legs. I can do it through the air. You don't even give me the weapons to really show you that. The team has all kinds of weird injury issues going on, which the team has players have called them out for. You got wide receivers arguing with general managers on Twitter. This is weird. And you don't want to give me a fully guaranteed contract. I'm one of the best quarterbacks in football. I'm one of the few who deserve it. Between me, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, there's not many guys, Josh Allen, that you could say, give it to him, and I'm not even going to think twice about it. And they're not giving it to him. So now another team can come around, non-exclusive tag, offer a fully guaranteed contract, and the Ravens have a choice. Do we match that offer and keep our guy, or do we let him go to that team, get 2 first-round picks in return? I mean, that's a steal for Lamar Jackson, if we're being honest. So if a team only has to give up 2 first-round picks and a fully guaranteed contract, you should do it. There's been this thing around the league where as soon as this came out, that teams are not interested, that teams are already pulling their name out of this. They're like, we're not going to do it. We're not going to pursue Lamar Jackson. That's super weird. That's super strange for them to even talk about it. Not sure what that's about. It's definitely something that will be interesting to see how it goes forward now, because this just happened basically. So it'll be interesting to see how this situation transpires, how it moves forward. Will the Ravens get their guy? Will some other surprising team just jump into the mix and snatch up Lamar Jackson and change their entire organization's outlook? It'll be crazy. This is a really interesting situation. I'm really excited to see how it plays out. Aaron Rodgers situation, cool, but just not as cool as Lamar Jackson, cool. So it is what it is. But this, I mean, honestly, we have an opportunity right now to see a lot of teams really change how they move forward, like really change the outlook for the team, right? Like the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, that changes a lot for the Packers. It kind of puts them in a what if situation. Is Jordan Love the guy? Are we going to try to draft a quarterback? Are we going to sign another vet? Like, what are we going to do? The Jets get Rodgers is like championship, right? Like that's all they're thinking about at that point. Then you got Lamar Jackson. If the Ravens lose him, we're talking about Jets fans being upset if they don't get Aaron Rodgers. Can you imagine being a fan of the Ravens and they trade away Lamar Jackson? Bruh, that is not a good situation. That is not. I don't even want to think about it. I don't think about it because Ravens fans will be very upset. If you're listening right now and you're a Raven fan, you're probably triggered. I understand, but it's possible. Crazier things have happened. Let's move on to topic number 2. Ja Morant, NBA superstar, Grizzlies best player, future of the NBA, current NBA just stud, baller. No question about it. If you're arguing that Ja Morant is good at basketball or one of the best in the league, you're crazy. Turn this off. Turn this off. But he's had these crazy incidents right now, right? Allegedly. I don't want to, I don't know what's fact and what's not fact. There's allegedly these incidents. One with a 17-year-old, I believe it was at his house. They were playing basketball. I don't know the relation to the 17-year-old. I don't know if it was a friend, someone he didn't know, how he got there. I don't know the situation, but I just know that something caused a fight between these two. Hey, tensions flare in basketball and sports. It happens. But it turned into a physical altercation. Apparently, Ja Morant threw a punch, at least one. He admitted to that, I believe. Apparently, he went into his house, got a gun, came back out with it on his waistband. Again, crazy situation. So escalated for nothing, it sounds like, in terms of getting a gun. Why do you need to get a gun? Like, that's a weird move to go to. I don't care what the person said. They're at your house. You kind of started the fight or responded to the fight with force. Getting a gun is a little strange. I mean, I don't think you think this kid has a gun in your house at the moment, right? So a weird intimidation move, I guess. So again, this could be someone targeting him, trying to get him with a lawsuit. Who knows? We'll see how that transpires. You're like, all right, things happen. Then you get an incident where he's at the mall. I believe how I read the story correctly, his mom was having an issue in a store. She called him. He came in with a bunch of guys. Mall security was there. Someone hit mall security or did something to them to the point where they filed a police report. No one got arrested or anything like that. But again, situation number 2, right? And that's with your mom there, right? So I don't know if his mom, I'm not blaming the mom, but like she apparently caused him to come into this situation, right? That's the way I read it, if I recall correctly. 2 incidents. Okay. Now we get a video on Instagram of him on Instagram Live of him waving a gun, kind of like dangling it, right? Like brandishing it in a video while he's listening to music, partying. It's a strip club. He's got his boys with him. Everything is cool, but he's dangling a gun, like bragging, like flossing it, right? And this is where things become really a problem because now you have the NBA investigating where did this gun come from? Is he bringing this gun on NBA planes? What's happening here? Why do you now bring the attention of the Colorado Police Department to investigate as well? You're starting to get all these issues, and you have everybody criticizing Ja Morant in the media, on podcasts, on blogs, and articles everywhere saying, "What is this young man doing? What is this? What is happening here?" If you're a fan of the Grizzlies, you're super concerned because you're like, "Hey, are we losing our team right now? Like, are we about to lose our superstar? Like, what is happening?" He got suspended for 2 games, and you're just concerned because you've seen players have incidents like this and it's just one off and it's done. Then you've had players who completely spiral out of control and it just gets worse and worse and worse. I have no issue with someone, NBA player or anyone else having a gun to protect themselves, right? Like I'm not going to argue against that. I'm not that guy. So I don't have an issue with him carrying a gun. I do have an issue with you brandishing it in videos and bragging about it or pulling it out at every single confrontation or just for fun on the internet. That's strange, right? So here's a kid who's young, needs guidance, needs to learn, needs to be held accountable, needs the right people around him. Hopefully that is going to happen. He did put out a response to the situation, which sounded positive. It sounded like he was taking accountability and he was going to work on these things. So I'm hoping that happens in his case. Obviously, nobody wants anything bad to happen here. So the point of bringing this up is we want to send positive vibes that way. We do wish the best for Ja Morant, but obviously when you have all these people around you, no one's stopping you. No, his dad is everywhere with him. So he's got to do better in terms of why is Ja getting so out of control? Why are these incidents happening? Why are these things happening? So that comes on the parents, that comes on the circle you keep around you. You have a young man who has, all the world's attention. He's one of the best in the NBA. He has all the money in the world. He has future contracts that are about to really make him super, 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 super wealthy. You don't want to ruin this stuff, right? Like you don't want to ruin his outlook, his chances, what he's, earned himself. Don't lose all that off of making stupid mistakes, being young, being dumb, being arrogant. Don't let that get to you. So hopefully Ja gets the right people around him. Hopefully they hold themselves accountable and fix the situation he's found himself in. Hopefully there's no substance issues like alcohol or drugs that are causing this to happen because that would be unfortunate because that's even harder to shake, if that becomes part of part of the issue, part of the dynamic here. So hopefully that's not a thing. So just wishing the best for him. I understand Grizzly fans though being really nervous about what's transpiring and how much this is happening often. I get it. And I get the judgment. People are passing on them. We expect a lot from people. We expect them to be mature and grown and do the right thing. And so, again, to Ja Morant, get your circle right, be responsible, be accountable. Don't get caught up in the energy that is around you. Make it more positive, and do the right things because you got a bright future ahead of you. You got a lot of opportunities ahead of you to change a lot of lives and help a lot of people, including your own. So, make the right choices, do the right things, be humble, be responsible, and the future is yours, man. The future is yours. It's an exciting league with you in it. So hopefully everything goes good with you, man. Before I get into the final headline of the week that I want to talk about with you guys, I do want to remind you to please go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Over 90% of the views that we get here on YouTube are from non-subscribers. So we really appreciate the views, but please also make sure you subscribe. Also, don't forget to like the video and turn on your notifications if you are subscribed. This way, anytime we drop a new video here at Rival Fantasy, whether it's a weekly episode like this, whether it's an update for the website, for the app, for new games, whether it's advice and help for the app, for the site, anything that it could be, I want you to get it as soon as it drops. I want you to be notified. So hit the notification button on there. But again, most importantly, thank you guys for your support. Thank you for chopping it up with us in the comments. Thank you for subscribing and supporting the channel. Now, on to headline number 3. The NFL Combine has passed. We talked about how excited we were for it to happen. It happened, guys. It happened in a big way. And I don't want to get into all the stuff that happened at the NFL Combine. Obviously, we could talk about that for months, and we have months to talk about it. So let's not do all that. Let's talk about the biggest takeaway from the NFL Combine. And for me, that was the quarterbacks. And now you're thinking, Neal, the quarterbacks, we already knew they were good. We already knew the quarterbacks were really good. They got all these good quarterbacks, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I know. I knew they were good too. We know they're good. We know that's it, high potential here. But Anthony Richardson went from being a really good quarterback in college with a little bit of experience, not a lot compared to some of the other quarterbacks, a guy who has some issues and things to work on, and he just blew away the NFL Combine. And we went into this knowing Anthony Richardson is really talented. We went into this knowing Anthony Richardson is a super athlete, but he blew everybody away. He broke records. He did his thing. And so to the point where some teams, at least according to sources, feel like Anthony Richardson is potentially the number 1 pick in the NFL draft now. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud behind Anthony Richardson. Who would have saw that coming? Who would have saw that coming? The thing here is, and you can make your arguments all different ways, is that Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling of all quarterbacks in the draft, potentially all quarterbacks in the NFL at some point. The things that he can do with his legs, the arm that he has, the intelligence he has, he can get things cleaned up. The ceiling, we talked about Lamar Jackson earlier. Anthony Richardson could potentially fall into that similar path, right? So that's hard for teams to pass up. That is very hard for teams to pass up, especially if you like, say, CJ Stroud the most, right? And he goes. Now you're thinking, do I take a Will Levis? Do I wait and take a guy like Hooker or Hayner who also did pretty well at the Combine? Do I do that, or do I just go with the guy with the highest ceiling of this entire draft and go with Anthony Richardson? It's definitely a ceiling off the charts type of player. If everything else can fall in line, if you believe you can coach this guy up to be the quarterback that you need for your team, he's got everything else in place ready for that. So Will Levis, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, these guys did really well. CJ Stroud was super impressive. I'm a Raider fan. I want my team to draft a quarterback at their pick 1.7, or if they trade up or whatever it is. I would love for them to draft CJ Stroud, and I would love for them to draft Anthony Richardson. Those are my 2 favorites in this draft. So crazy Combine week. I think it's an interesting conversation how much teams actually put into this. We talk about it. It's a fun talking point, right? Like it's fun to talk about 40-yard dashes and verticals and how guys threw the ball at the Combine. And it's a talking point for us, especially when the season gets slow. There's no NFL games happening. We've got a long off season ahead of us. So it's easy to get caught up in the NFL Combine talk. But I do wonder how much teams actually put into it. I think the biggest takeaway for teams at the NFL Combine is these interviews, right? When they get to sit down with Anthony Richardson, find out about his personal life, find out what he's got going on, find out how he approaches the game, how he sees the game, what his goals are. Those kind of things are important, I think, for the team. So that's probably the biggest thing because they knew Anthony Richardson was fast. They knew Anthony Richardson can jump high. They know he could throw the ball. those aren't necessarily surprises. While it's beautiful to see the off the chart metrics and know that the ceiling is totally blown off the roof, it's still nice to have that interview, I think, more than anything, for a team to get the vibe of the player, to see if they connect with the player, to see if they can handle what the team plans to throw at them. No pun intended. It was a really productive NFL combine. I'm excited. I'm happy for Anthony Richardson. I'm happy for all the players who did well. I'm curious, if you were betting on one of these quarterbacks, let's say betting on one of these quarterbacks to be a top 5 quarterback 3 seasons from now, which quarterback would you put your money on? Team bias aside, I don't care who you're a fan of. I don't care about what your favorite team is, all that kind of stuff. If you just had to bet everything right now on it, on one of these guys, Bryce Young, Levis, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, or another if you feel so inclined, who would you put your money on 3 seasons from now could be a top 5 quarterback? I'm curious your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. We always like to chop it up with you guys in the comments. We read them on air sometimes. Or if you're not on YouTube, you're listening right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, one of the podcast platforms, hit us up on social media at Rival Fantasy, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Any of those work. Hit us up. Just curious. Pick one quarterback in this draft. In 3 seasons, he could be top 5 at quarterback. I'm curious your thoughts, everybody. That is it for our top 3 headlines of the week. I'm curious if we missed a headline that you think should have been in the conversation. Also drop that in the comments. Don't forget, visit rivalfantasy.com today. Sign up. If you sign up using my promo code RIVAL, when you use the promo code RIVAL at sign up, you will automatically activate $50 in loss protection on your first bet up to $50. So if you go on there, you sign up, you use promo code RIVAL, you make a deposit of $20, you make a $10 bet and you lose it, we will refund you the $10. Or if you make a $50 bet, we'll refund you the $50. If you go big baller status, I can't refund $100, $200, $300, $400. I know y'all got it, but I will get you up to $50 so you can test it just to see, just to get a vibe, you get a feel for the platform. We have challenges on there. We have fantasy book. We have fantasy bingo. We have a lot of unique, interesting, fun games to play. It's all based off fantasy points. The thing for us is that we feel we've created a great platform of games that are good for anybody. You don't have to have a math degree. You don't have to be a fantasy wizard with spreadsheets. Get on there and have fun, right? Like with your friends, your family, your coworkers. We have currently NBA available. So for all 3 games, NBA is available. MLB is coming on the site soon when it kicks off, obviously. And then we have NFL. For the NFL season, we're going to have season long as well added to the site, and best ball. So you'll have NFL for all those options. So get on there now, play, enjoy the current promo offer. Again, we pride ourselves on creating these games that are fun, that are easy to get involved with, that you, your friends, everyone can play. Don't forget to use the promo code RIVAL. It activates immediately your $50 loss protection. I appreciate you guys as always. I am Neal. This is Rival Fantasy. You are amazing. I will catch you next episode. We're out.